Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode. I'm so excited to be here with Alessandra Caprice. Alessandra is a business mastery coach. She helps her clients reach multi six figures and beyond through regulating their nervous system to bigness and wealth with money breathwork. Thank you so much for being here.
I'm so excited to be here and chat with you.
Me too. So I just kind of to start, I'd love for you to kind of introduce yourself and tell us about how you got into the work that you do.
Sure. Yeah. So my background is actually as a therapist. So I have my master's in social work. And so I always start there because that's really my backbone and my foundation of who I am and what I do. And I was in private practice for a little bit and then decided to move online and start having kids. I have 4 kids, which is very important to my story as well. And I started life coaching. Then I started business coaching and business strategy. But I always felt like two parts. I felt like something was missing from my work, right? The work that I wanted to bring to the world. And then also something was missing for me. I went through this, I've been in business for about 7 years, and it has been quite or maybe almost 8 at this point. It's been quite the roller coaster. And so I'd have a lot of success. And then all of a sudden it would be like, where'd the money go? Where'd that success go? And so I had gone through a few iterations of this roller coaster. And I was like, there's something missing, right? So I felt that pull within me of like, I'm meant to do something even more. And then also this pull of like, what's going on business wise, right? Like I was doing all the mindset work. I was doing all the journaling and the coaching and all the things, right? And I kept getting this call, breath work will heal you. And I had been exposed a little bit to breath work. The first time I got exposed to it, I was pregnant. And so when you're pregnant, you have to kind of do it a little bit more reserved. And so I didn't really get to experience it the way that you can. And I've gone through a pregnancy this last year and I know how to do it now. And I just didn't then. And so it took me some time to actually get in there and do it. And the first time I did it, like full out went for it, I signed up to be a facilitator. I was like, this is the missing link. This was it for me. Right. And so I went through that facilitator training. And the first time that I did breath work, I got the download that you're going to do this with money. And so I had been a business strategist for a long time. I always felt pulled to the topic of money, but I had my own roller coaster that was going on. I had my imposter syndrome, all the things, I call them armors of smallness. I had all my stuff. And so once I started doing this breath work, I started incorporating it for my money healing, my bigness activation. And it started working, and started working for my clients. I started bringing money breathwork more to the outward world and really committing to it being my magic and my thing. And that's what I lead with now. And that's pretty much all that I do. I mean, of course, I infuse money breathwork is special because I infuse strategy and all that kind of stuff into it. But yeah, that's my journey.
That's so amazing. I mean, I'm familiar somewhat with breath work, and then I've done a ton of money mindset work. But the idea of combining the two, I feel, is so powerful because we can only heal so much through mindset's wonderful and it is important, but only to a point because you've got to heal at the level of the body.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And that's why I found that intersection so needed and necessary, right? Like I said, I'd done all the mindset work. I knew all my money blocks. Like
Yep.
I was well aware of them, right? Like I knew I was there. I knew my money trauma. I knew the way I thought about success. I knew about money, right? So I knew all these things in my mind, yet no amount of journaling, coaching, even like I had all these breakthrough with coaching and reading books and oh my gosh, there it is, right? And then what, and
Yes.
then so it's not until we can actually go in and heal where we hold it in our body, like our ability, like I talk about bigness a lot, like our ability to hold bigness, our ability to receive money, like be
Yeah.
safe to receive, be
Yeah.
safe to be big, be safe to be seen, right? Um, you can do it as much as you want in your mind. You can grit it out as a college athlete. Like I gritted things out, but until I just surrendered and dropped into my body and said, okay, let's heal this at a cellular level versus just in the mind.
Yeah. And breathing is receiving. So,
Yeah. Oh my
it's,
God. Yeah. And I always say the breath is a mirror, right? So
yeah,
our breath, like the whole breath work journey it's not easy, right? Like you're breathing very differently than you're used to. I call it like this upward mountain that you're climbing. And it's very similar to showing up in business, showing up in life, going through the difficulties, continuing, let's use an example of like launching, keeping on going when it doesn't look like it's working or whatever that is, right? Like the mirror gets to be this beautiful mirror. The breath gets to be this beautiful mirror
yeah,
for life. And when we can just use it and allow it to move through us and to like, it's this beautiful inward and outward, like circular motion, that I just think is such a beautiful like metaphor for all the things in our life.
yeah. It's so beautiful. It's so profound. You said in a post that breath work is literally the thing that changes lives the quickest, the deepest, and with long-standing shifts and changes. So could you tell us more about that? I know we're saying like it's somatic and it's it deals with the body, but there's a lot of somatic therapies out there. So what sets breath work apart?
Yeah. So I feel like so when you look at like say meditation or journaling, and those aren't as much somatic stuff, but like those, you can get into that subconscious, you can get there, but it takes 45 to 50 minutes. With breath work, this is why I say it's so fast, it takes 8 to
Yeah.
drop you into that lower state. And so when coming back to that image of a mountain that I was talking about, that I feel like this is a perfect example of why two things why breath work works so fast and why breath work is, I wouldn't necessarily want to say it's superior to any other somatics. I love all the somatic work, but how it drops you in to that deep subconscious state where you are revealed the healing that needs to happen, the memories that you're holding on to, the limiting beliefs, right? So imagine we're walking up a mountain and that's kind of that first 8 minutes of breath work. And we're kind of trudging up the mountain. It's not the most, like, even now I've been doing it for 2 years. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And so you're walking up that mountain, and what I envision at the top of that mountain is this beautiful portal, right? And so you get up that mountain and you walk through this portal, and the breath gets easier at that point. Once you kind of like, there's just like this natural drop and relaxation. You're still breathing, but it's just this beautiful energy shift of like, now we're in the body, right? We've been like fighting the mind this whole time, and now we're here. And you walk through this portal and everything becomes clear, right? Like you see, like I just said, you see the experiences, you see the memories, you see the limiting beliefs, you see, and in that place, you're able to release them. You're able to let go. You're able to heal. And you're like I said, you're in the body at that point, right? Versus like fighting your mind consistently. So from that place, you've got this beautiful channel between you and your higher self. You've got this beautiful channel between you and your inner child, right? Like this, like, it's like this other realm. And it's not that you always go there every time. You might go into a breathwork session and you just like need to super relax, and you just need to like, that's fine too. Like I've gone into breathwork sessions. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to like break through and have all these aha moments. And I'm like super zen the whole time. And it just gives you exactly what you need, which is also why I feel like breathwork is so unique, that it does take you where you need to go. Like I do money breathwork, significantly. And I have people that are, healing their relationships with their parents. I have them being better moms, all these things that come up through breath work, naturally, because of that's where you need to go. And those are the things that are actually blocking you from showing up authentically in your business or being big or receiving money too.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's like you have all the answers within you, but you've got to get there. Like you've got to
Yeah.
find a way to drop in and access the
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And so this modality that I use is breath work to do that. And then we pair that with the intention of money and bigness and sales and all the things that are targeted towards business.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. You were talking about the goodness ceiling. And I'm somewhat familiar because I've read the book, The Big Leap, and I think he
Mm-hmm.
calls it like, your, I forget the word he uses, but it's a similar
Upper limit.
upper limit. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, what do we do when we bump up against the ceiling, or we reach our upper limit for like how much joy and happiness we can hold?
Yes. Yes. So it's just about creating a bigger capacity, right? And so when you can start to recognize, the first piece is awareness, right? You've got to be aware of when you're butting up that against that goodness ceiling. So the goodness ceiling, for anyone who hasn't seen me talk about it, right, is it can be good in any realm of life. So like, say you just got a new client, or you have a great, things are going really well in your relationship, right? You had I've had a baby, or something, things that are very joyous, right? We have this capacity for joy, just like we have the capacity to receive money, and we have the capacity to have success, right? We all have these ceilings. I just call them the goodness ceiling because all of them are good, good things happening to us. And so our first piece is to be aware that we're feeling good first, like things are going really well, right? Our nervous system is all about safety, and it's going to keep you safe at all costs, right? And so if it starts butting up against your goodness ceiling, it's like alert, alert, alert. We're getting too big, or it's getting into a space where it could be unsafe. It doesn't know, right? That like more good, like, but we're programmed in our body, like, this is as good as things are going to get. You'll notice when your mind's like, oh, something bad's going to happen, or when's my client going to fit? Like, it might be subconscious, it might be conscious. A lot of people have these thoughts consciously, and a lot of people have them subconsciously too. Like, you don't know you're doing this to yourself, self-sabotage and whatnot. And so that first piece is awareness of like, okay, things are going good right now. Okay, I'm receiving money. Clients are coming in. My launch is going well. Okay, these things are really good. And then he talks about this in The Big Leap. And now I pair in breath work with that, because then we can, instead of just in our mind, we can now train our body to feel safe with a bigger capacity, right? So in that book, The Big Leap, he just kind of talks through like journaling prompts and things like that. That's great, right? Once again, that's in your mind. Now, if we can train our body to say, it's safe to have more good. It is safe to be bigger. Like, I get to be seen. A lot of my clients come in and they're afraid to be truly seen. And bigness and success means being seen, right? More money means being seen. And so when we can, and that's butting up against our bigness ceiling, our goodness ceiling, whatever you want to call. And so we've really got, this is why I love breathwork so much for this, is really training our body to feel safe there in expansion, and to really, imagine, like, I do this in some of my breath work. It's like, really literally imagine that ceiling lifting, or your energy being able to take up more space and being safe there. And it's like, it's okay to feel good. Like, bad doesn't have to follow good. Like, I am safe to continue to feel more and more good each day.
That's incredible and so important. I've definitely had that happen over and over again, where things just keep getting better and better. I'm doing the work and it's like, and I'm feeling so good. And then it's just this terrifying feeling of like waiting for the other shoe to drop.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And I think that, and then we like shrink back down, because it's almost like you have this feeling that you're like tempting fate by letting things be as good as they could possibly be.
Yeah. Yeah. And yet we don't even know, we're not even scratching the surface on how good it can be, right? Because you're butting up against this is my capacity. This is as good. Things can't be this good. Yet there is this realm where they're like 10 times as good, 20 times as good. And we just have to raise our capacity, grow our capacity to hold it and to receive goodness.
Yeah, I love that. And I feel like I've never heard anybody pair these two things. And I think it is so important. And I love how you said, like, in The Big Leap, he does give you like journal prompts and he brings awareness to it. And I think that's the first step, right? Awareness.
Yes.
But then
100%.
Like, we have to address it in our bodies. And that's what breath work does. It's so cool.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. I just had someone talking to me the other day, and she had been journaling in the morning, and she was like, oh my gosh, I just like uncovered all these blocks and money blocks. And I'm like, yay, now what? Like, that's what I like. that's my solution, right? I'm the now what? Like I know the things. And sometimes this is what I love about breath work is journaling just scratches the surface anyways, right? Like, so unless you're journaling for like 2 hours a day, like even then I feel like it's just scratching the surface. But so I like to start a lot of my workshops with journaling prompts just to scratch the surface, and then allowing ourselves to go even deeper and to find what's actually there. And that's what breath work is so powerful to do, is like, I have so many people come out of sessions and be like, well, I thought my block was this. And then I went in there and like, I saw this and I said, that makes so much sense. Oh my gosh, and they were able to release it. Like I just had someone the other day, like release, an identity that they had been holding on to, and they just felt it like leave from their body, and so it just had like the awareness is always the first piece, acknowledging and seeing, like my therapist brain, right? Like you have to know and see. Although, what's interesting, sometimes I do this in breath work too, where because we're in that breath state, when we're in that portal, in that other realm, sometimes you don't always have to know what you're releasing. Like I have a lot of because the pressure of our culture and society, I guess, is for our minds to understand, and we're trying to understand everything. But when I have a lot of clients that come out and they're like, I just cried the entire time and I don't know what I was crying about or what I was releasing. And sometimes we don't need to know that, right? And so awareness and acknowledgement is always a great first step. And yet when we use breath work, we can go even deeper, where even our mind doesn't need to know, but our body's like, we'll take care of this. We got this. We're going to let go. We're going to release that trauma. We're going to heal that trauma. We're going to release that limiting belief. And then it's just going to be gone. And now you're going to feel different, right? You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And I feel like it's a kind of a shortcut. It's like, you
Yes.
can go through, and I've done this. I've been through years and years of therapy where like I've dissected every aspect of my childhood.
Yep.
And like you said, like I'm so aware of what my issues are and what my blocks are, but it's like, do we need to do that? Do we need to spend years doing
No,
that? Or
no.
do we just go straight for the, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was reading a book. I can't remember what book it was, but it was written by a therapist, and she was like, oh, after 5 years of therapy, this client, she was like describing this client, and like, we finally figured out what like the thing was that she was holding. I'm like, I would have found that in one session, like, or 2 sessions, or
Yep.
as long as they went there, like that
Yep.
would have come out. Like, I think it had to do with like something with their father or whatever, like something, I think he was sick or something had happened.
Yeah.
Or he passed away when she was like a teenager, and she hadn't even told her therapist that after 5 years. And I'm like, that would have come out in 5 minutes of breath work. You know what I mean? Because we can't hide in breath work. We can't skirt around the issues. It'll pop up into your face like, look, this is the thing that is holding you back. Hello, here you go.
I did one breathwork ceremony or workshop. It was very ceremonial, but they're like, this is like taking plant medicine. I was like,
yes. Yes.
That sounds so dramatic. We'll see. But like, I was having visions. Like,
yes.
I was like sobbing and having like these like, just like breakthrough after breakthrough after breakthrough in an hour. It's nuts.
Exactly. My husband calls it the cheat code. It's your cheat code to break through. Like I can't. And it's so funny because I've had over the years, I mean, like I said, I've been in business for a long time. I've done many iterations and evolutions of who I am. And so there have been people that have been following me, throughout this course of my business. And they're like, gosh, there's something different with you. What is it? And I'm like, breath work. And then they're like, we'll come back and be like, what is it? I'm like, I can't, like, I'm not making this up, you guys, even though I'm selling it and that's my thing that I do, like I do it too. And when you see it on me, it's breath work. That's what I'm doing. I'm not like, I have not like sat down with I'll journal after breath work, or I'll journal right before breath work, but I've not sat down with a journal to like figure things out for like almost a year and a half. Right. Like, because it reveals to me in breath work. And then I get the ideas and I might write them down because sometimes you can forget them. I have a lot of clients who are like, I just need to. So I've actually filmed myself. I haven't done this in a long time, but I filmed myself doing breath work just so I could speak things out loud so that I could remember them later.
Smart. Yeah, that is smart.
Yeah.
Gosh, I love it so much. Um, you were saying in a post that the biggest lesson you've learned after 7 years of entrepreneurship is to never give up, which is so important.
Yeah.
What other advice would you give to someone who's just starting out in their business?
Well, my first thing is start with breath work. I really, and it's like, I'm a broken record, but I have to be because I really truly believe this. Right. And this is, I mean, I can give lots of different pieces of advice, but like we were just saying, it's that cheat code to what's in your way, right? If you're an first off starting out entrepreneur, like it's really interesting because like I said, I was a college athlete. I always did well in school. Then I got a job. Then I went to grad school. I grew my private practice like the fastest ever. Like I just put myself out there. And then the second I got into online world, I was like, all these limiting beliefs came up. Like I had never, it's really interesting. I had never been as aware of them as I was when I stepped into the online space. And, I call them the armors of smallness, which are, not enoughness, imposter syndrome, comparison, perfectionism, accommodation, which is kind of like people pleasing, fear of rejection, fear of being ostracized, fear of judgment, fear of success, fear of failure, right? All these armors, they come up full force. They're like, who are you to do these things? Like, look at all these other people doing the same, quote unquote, the same thing that you're doing. Oh yeah. What makes you think you're so special? Like I've had clients literally tell me that these are the thoughts they have. Right. And I've had them too. Right. And so I would definitely equip yourself with this, right? Because it helps you never give up. Like the amount of times throughout this roller coaster that I've looked on Indeed.com and been like, let's just go get a normal job.
Yeah.
Let's just do it. And it's like really hard for me because that's also when I've had pretty good success. Because as at every iteration of success, we've elevated our income, our lifestyle, right? And so even in a roller coaster, like on the outside, people would be like, well, you're making a lot of money, but it still felt like a roller coaster to me because I was always like hanging by a thread. And then I go look at these jobs and I'm like, I'm a social worker, right? My employable person is a social worker. And I'm like, I would make like a third of what I am making right now already. It's just ridiculous. But I know that that's so relatable. Like when you're in entrepreneurship, there's that constant like, should I keep going? Should I do this? Should I get a job? And sometimes that is an option for people that so that they can like regulate their nervous system and get a job to help them pursue their genes. I don't know why that came through, but dreams.
Yeah.
And that's okay. And I want to give permission to those people. That just wasn't an option for me as a mom with 4 kids and being pregnant a lot. And like, it just wasn't right. And my husband's home and just wasn't for me. But that never give up energy is surrounding that idea that you weren't given this dream because you weren't meant to not have it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like you were given the dream on your heart because you are meant to have it. You are meant to do those things. And like, and I'm so glad, here's the really awesome piece. Like, I'm so glad I didn't give up because I would not be doing Money BreathWork and bringing this to the world because I would have stopped when I was doing business strategy. I would have stopped when I was a therapist, or I'd still be a therapist, which don't get me wrong, like therapy is awesome. And I love that. And I'm so glad about that education. Uh-oh. I lost you.
I don't know.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh my God. That's cool.
Yeah. Therapy's awesome, but you would still be in your therapy practice if you had just given up
right.
Right.
And I feel like that's just a fraction of what I'm going to do on this planet at this point. Right. Like, because I have allowed the evolution, like, and so that's a really great piece of advice too, is to just start. Right. Because if I thought everything needed to be perfect, or I thought that this was the thing that I had to choose the thing that I was going to do forever, then I might not have started because I'm like, I don't know. Is that the thing? Is that the thing? Is that the thing? Right. And I would never be where I am today, bringing something that no one else is bringing to the planet. And I really believe that when you allow yourself that evolution, you become a channel for your genius, like what your genius is. I believe we all have something so powerful to offer. And there are plenty of people on the planet, right? Like think about like when people are like, oh, it's such a crowded space. I'm like, no, it's not. Like there are so many people and we all have our own unique geniuses. Like there's plenty of people who need your genius. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't get there if you gave up.
Exactly. I love that so much. It's such good advice. You really just need to know the next step. That's what whenever I feel stuck, I'm like, I don't need to know even 2 steps ahead. I just need to know what to do next.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And that's actually how I end every single money breathwork. So like every single time, cause like that's how I add in the strategy piece, right? Of, we go through this whole journey and then I always end either in like the integration period at the end or when we're breathing. I ask like, what step is being revealed to you? What is that next step? What is the next thing you're going to say? What is the next thing you're going to do? How are you going to say it? Like whatever that one piece is. And I know that we were going to talk about this today anyways, of like following those nudges and the things that come through during breath work, that is key. Right. And so like, I say I have 100% rate of success with money breath work, and I will stand by that. So through and through, because the people who come in and allow themselves to receive that next step and they take it, and it could be like, I had a client being like, the step that I just received was to take a bath. And I'm like, take that bath. Yeah. You don't know what genius idea is going to come through in that bath. You know what I mean? Right. And like go for a walk or do these things, right? Like whatever you receive, you're receiving for a reason. And the people who get a little slower results or they're like kind of spinning a little bit, they don't take the steps that they receive. Oh, I received to do this. And I'm like, well, have you done it? And they're like, no, this is why we can't just like do this work and then just like hope it all works. Right. Like that's where I bring in the business coach in me, where I'm like, okay, or the just life coach in me, right? It might not have to do with business. It might have to do with life, like setting a boundary of the relationship or whatever those things are. It's like when you receive that, you're receiving it for a reason and you're meant to go and do it.
Yeah, we have to bring the action in. And that's what it's like. I get so fired up about this because like for all of the 90s, it was just like so woo and like everyone's up here floating around in the clouds. Yeah. And it was like this generation of like beautiful heart-centered spiritual women that were like broke and alone. And because you have to ground it into reality, you have to manifest it through aligned action. Like it can't end with, we could spend years like floating around just healing all of our trauma, but we come here if we didn't want to have life and results and
Yes, exactly. And so that's that point right there of like, we could spend so much time healing our traumas. I've been in, when I was in a state of like burnout or like all my armors were coming up, I'm like, I just want to heal for a month. And like, look, I love healing and I think that's so important, but like, I also needed to make money and I also needed to like grow my business. And so the thing that I love so much about breath work is we get to do both at the same time. We get to do the healing work. And that's how I've structured money breath work the way that I do it. And it's not just going to be money breath work. I'm sure I will expand into other realms, but this is how I structure my breath work. It was the way that channeled through me, is that there's that acknowledging piece that we're talking about. There's the healing release piece of like what needs to be healed right now. It might have to do with your business. It might have to do with life and relationships, whatever, but there's the healing piece. Then there's the expansion piece. Cause like, I don't want you to get stuck in your healing. I want you to heal because it's so important. And there's a lot that you need to shed and let go of and release. And then, but we have to now say from that space, how can I expand? How can I allow myself to be seen in a new way? And then once again, going against our ceiling talk of like raising your capacity, there's the expanding, raising your capacity, and then finding safety in that next level of bigness, of who you are, of taking the action. I am safe to take these actions. I am safe to be seen. I'm safe to speak, or whatever those actions are that come through to you to allow your body to feel safe in it. So that's kind of like my cadence that I go through in my breathwork sessions that allow both to happen, because we can get stuck in the release, we can get stuck in the healing, and we can get stuck in the, I've got to quantum leap, I've got to grow, I've got to move, right? And then you do quantum leap, and then you're on the other side and your nervous system's going crazy. You know, like, oh my God, we can't hold this. Like, I've done that. I've had that experience. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I can handle all this success, right? Or whatever your quantum leap looks like. For me, that's money and success, right?
Totally.
But, yeah.
Totally. It's so powerful. And like you were saying earlier, you could have found that block in 8 minutes where it took a therapist 5 years.
Yes. Yes.
Like imagine that, saving 5 years and thousands of dollars.
Right. Seriously. And just, I mean, that time is time. Like, I don't, like, the money is one thing, but it's like the time, right? And like, if I knew what I know now, I really believe this. If I had been using breathwork from the very beginning of my business journey, I don't think I would have had, I mean, I love all the lessons that I've learned. Don't get me wrong. Like, that's really important. But like, I know it would have happened way faster. Like, you know, I've doubled my business in the last year because I do breath work. You know, and I have the foundation that I have now because I've done breath work. I'm going to hit the million in the next 12 months because I do breath work, period. Yeah. I can't. And it's not just because I sell it, but it's because I do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. You're the embodiment of your work. Well, I'm old. Where do I sign up?
Right?
We'll talk about that at the end. Yes. You were talking about literally shifting into the person who makes what she wants to make, the version of you who gets to receive an excess overflow, safety, and security at new levels. Which I love this, like, it's like embodying your future self in the present moment.
Yes.
Does breathwork also support us in this?
Yes. So like I said, so that portal that you go into, that is where, like, I really believe, I just got chills right now, just even talking about it, is like where they become one, right? Yeah. That future self, like the confidence that I feel, the understanding that I feel, like I am her in a breath work. Like I can feel her, I can see her on the stages, I can, as me, right? And so it literally feels like that veil between me and my higher self, me and my future self, me, whatever that is, it's lifted, right? And like I can feel her, I am her, right? And so this is why it's so important to, like, from that space, take the action, because as we move into real regular life after breath work, our minds get in the way and they start saying, but really, is that actually what is, you know, do you really believe you can do that or say that or be that way or whatever? Because our brains are also set up to protect us as well. They don't want you to be big and put yourself on the line, because you could be rejected, you could be judged, you could be all the things that hurt you as a kid or hurt you last week. I don't care. You can inner child work. It could also be last week, right? And so when you are in that space, you actually are hurt. Like you just can feel her. This is why I love it so much, because it's like journaling. I don't know. It's just like, it's not in the body, right? Like I can literally feel myself be her. And sometimes I'll like move. I also really encourage my people to move. And like, maybe you're like, how does she move? How does she like flow with it? Maybe I have some music on, like dance like her, or like, I mean, I always have music on, but maybe I have some music on that feels good to dance to. Do you know what I mean? I've done like squats during breath work. That was more on the release, because I was like, my legs need to hold up my bigness. But I really encourage following and letting her during those times, like speak and like become you. And like, what does that get to look like? What does that get to feel like?
Yeah. I think that's a huge piece of manifestation. And I've never combined it with breath work, but every time I've ever had like a big quantum leap or manifestation, it's through that work of like, well, what would she do today? What would she wear? What would she say? Who does she hang out with? Like, who is this person? And then like becoming her right now today, because you can become anything you want in the moment
Yeah.
energetically. And it's like, it's not about what she has will come, but it's who she is.
Right. Oh yeah. Yeah. And that's where the embodiment piece is so powerful. Like I was just talking about this on, after a breathwork yesterday, where someone was talking about embodiment and moving from the teaching to embodiment. And when we can, so for example, I use myself as an example over the last, 6 or 7 years, it was a lot of came through what I knew, right? Like my education, my experience, like really like it came from my brain. Like I know these strategies. I know how to help you with anxiety. I know how to do these things, right? It's really from like the headspace of like understanding and knowing from my brain, right? And until I really dropped into that full embodiment, that knowing then became from my body. And so when I was in that full embodiment of that version of me, then I was more magnetic when I spoke. It was so much easier to sell my programs. The programs were more aligned. The things that I offered were more aligned because it wasn't from my head anymore. It was from my body and embodiment, right?
Exactly. And people can feel that. They can feel if you're in
Yeah.
your body or if you're just like all up here.
Exactly. And that's why breath work is like it gets you out of your head and drops you into your body. I mean, like that's, if it does nothing else, if you don't get any of the breath work, the breakthroughs, I mean, the thing with breath work, sometimes you'll go into a breath work session and then like 2 days later, you'll get the breakthrough, right? Like you just have to like open yourself up to it. But if anything, it moves you out of your mind and into your body. And that already is a really good thing, period.
Yeah. Yeah. How often do you suggest that people do breath work? Is it like a daily practice or?
Yeah, I mean, so what I do is I have a few different types of breath work. So one is a longer, I call them the meditative sessions. I recommend those like 2 to 3 times a week if you can. Some people just need to start with one and that's good, but I would recommend 2 to 3 times a week. And I mirror that in my programs where like you get like 2 or 3 opportunities. And then I have shorter breath works that are about 10 to 12 minutes long. So those meditative ones are 35, 40 minutes long sometimes. Then I have the shorter ones and you could do those every day. Like you could start your day off with a 12-minute breath work and those ones move through different breath patterns and have different, energies associated with them. And so a lot of my clients will, find those are called integratives. Will find an integrative that they love and they'll just like do that every day, or I have bedtime ones too. And so they'll like do one before bed. So it is definitely something that is doable every single day. Now the big longer ones, I can't do that every day because I've got 4 kids. I'm doing all the things. I'm running a business. I'm doing the thing, but I can definitely move into like some 10 minutes. I got 10 minutes, like, you know what I mean? And so I also still don't do it every day. Right. But like I do enough where it works.
I love that. And I love how you're so honest about like, honestly don't do it every day, but it still works. And that's important for us because we're so busy and it's like, there's things where people are like, well, you have to do it every day if you want it to work. But I think this is like this new frontier in spirituality where before it was all about meditation and then you would literally be disembodied through your meditation. Like you have to, at the end of a meditation, come back into your body. Yeah. And this is like the exact opposite of that. And I think it's like you're working with the chakras and you're working with the lower chakras, which are the chakras of manifestation and like our physical reality. So I just love the direction that all of this is heading because I think we spent so much time for so many years, just not even personally, but just like as a collective, way up here. Yes, and we're realizing that like, no, it's the body. And I just get so excited. I mean, I'm a body worker, so that's part of it, but I get so excited about this.
Yep. Me too. I get it. it.
So, let me see. We already covered, you were talking about following the nudges. I love this post that you said, you have the power to choose any day to be the day when everything changed. Is there a time in your life where you made that decision and like your life just changed?
I know I'm going to be a broken record, but it was literally, So like I was saying, I had all the roller coaster moments, and I call them, another coach years ago I followed, she called them, I call them FTS moments, but she uses the bad words. And I'm not like as much of a cusser. So I call them FTS moments, but those moments where like, you're like, screw this, things are going to change from now on. Right.
Mhm.
I can't go on any longer this way. And so I've had multiple of those throughout my life
Mhm.
where I thought this was going to be the moment where everything changed, right? I thought it in my brain and I did the things. I journaled. I got the coaches. I bought the books. I bought the programs. I woke up at 5 a.m. when I was pregnant. I did all the things, right? Like, I'm not going to do all these things. And then it happened again, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this was supposed to be the moment where everything changed, right? And so it was for me. And here's the thing. I have those moments. I allow those moments to happen every time I do a breath work, right? Like I said, like every single moment gets to be a moment where something changes, right? It doesn't have to be one of those big FTS moments where like I'm hit rock bottom and everything's going to change from now on, right? And I had one of those in February of 2022, where once again, I was doing really, really well. And I was like, oh my gosh, how are we going to pay rent tonight? I don't know, or tomorrow, or whatever it was. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. I'm done with this. Like, this is not. And that's when I went all in on using breath work and I hadn't been using it this way yet. And I said, I'm going to do it with money. Something is going on with my money story. Something is going on with money and me. We're like not gelling right now. And so I went all in and using it for myself. And I said, I've got to heal something. I've got to do something different. And that was the moment where everything changed for me. And then I was able to bring money breathwork to the world, right? Because I used it. And then now I say that in a lot of my breathworks where like, you get to choose right here, this moment, that something gets to change, like whatever, maybe it's a humongous big change. And it's like that moment where you're going to remember forever. Or maybe it's just that shift of mindset, that shift of the way you're going to say something or show up, or maybe you get, I don't know, but like it gets every single moment, every day, we have that opportunity to say something's going to change.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Chills.
So good.
All right. So I read on the internet that do you have a 5-day breathwork event coming up, or is that going on right now?
It's next week.
Okay. I want to sign up for that for sure. And I think everyone else does too. So could you talk about that?
Yeah. So it's called 10X, and it's about 10Xing many realms. So 10Xing your sales, 10Xing, it's a 5-day. So we have each day, we're going to have a different topic. So 10X your sales, 10X your self-expression, 10X your bravery, 10X your money, 10X your bigness, right? And it's all about elevating yourself into that 10X identity, that expanded leaper, right? Like that big leaper for that, lack of a better term. And really embodying that. So like 10X gets to mean whatever that gets to mean for you. It could be monetary. Like I really want to 10X my business. It could mean like 10X my bravery, like how I want to show up, right? 10X my bigness. I want to get on stages, or I want to do podcasts or start my podcast or whatever that is. And so it's really about embodying, of course, that version of you. And that's where we start, right? That's where we're going to start. So I'm going to kind of show you lots of different the realms that I do breathwork, because the money breathwork is not just about money. It's all about the pieces that are going to make you money. Yes, we have our foundation of your relationship with money, but like there are so many other pieces that go together to like make you money, right?
Like money is kind of just the byproduct, right? Like,
yeah. And it's funny because I thought that that's all I was going to do, because I love talking about money. So like I have my program Money Magnet. And so that was the first one I started with. We have like 70 breathworks in there at this point. It's so good. But I thought that was going to be my only thing, because I'm like, I'm going to talk about, but then being big came through, all the armors of smallness. I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to create a program for this. I got to create a program for bravery and all these things. And I'm like, okay, money breathwork is so much bigger than just money, because we're so much bigger than just money. Like, you know what I mean? Like our businesses are so much bigger than just money, but we want money. Like, come on, money, let's go.
I know we need it to live in this world. And we
want a lot of it.
Yeah. because we want to have fun.
Yes, of course.
So with your programs, are they pre-recorded digital programs? Do you run live? Do you do both? Do you do
It's
private?
a combo. So, like I said, in that money magnet vault, we have 70 plus different, they're all different money intentions for different purposes on healing. And like, it's not a one size fits all. So a lot of people come in and be like, this is what I'm struggling with right now. And I'm like, oh, go do this breath work. Right. So I have the vault, and this is how I am with all my programs. I have a vault of, over 100 something breath works for different reasons and different pieces of your business and expansion. And then I also run them live. So I never do the same breathwork twice, unless I'm like, oh, we want to up level that one a little bit, or I've evolved and now I want to kind of do a next like 2.0 version of that one. But all of them are different. They're all original. I write a new breathwork every single time. My programs are always different because you already have the awesome ones in the vault. I don't need to redo them for you. And so they're live, they're group. I have very, very select few one-on-one clients, but it's really the group energy is super powerful with breath work, and like everyone's breakthroughs and things like going on at the same time. And then the group, where everyone's sharing and things like that. So that's typically how I work. And I have kind of pillar programs. I have Money Magnet, I have Being Big is more the mastermind. And then Sales Alchemy is all about sales and energetic of sales. And then I have workshops. I mean, I've got it all for you. Really, like I cover it all for you.
That's perfect. And then someone could get started right away, which is so cool. But then also they can be in the live energy, which feels really good too. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. You get whenever you join a program, you get instant access. So like you can literally jump in right away, and then whatever program you're in, you'll know when the live events are happening. And even if it's between programs, like I always do continuation modules each month. So say Money Magnet's going to run in November. Then I will have, continuation modules each month until the next live one, because the live ones are 4 to 6 weeks. We do multiple, modules a week, that kind of thing. But then I continue the live energy as well.
Amazing. That's so cool. Okay. I'm so excited to dive into everything. Could you tell us how we can find you on the internet? I'll link your Instagram in the show notes, but just so everybody knows.
Perfect. Yeah. And so moneybreathwork.com is where you can access, I have a download for you, like you can access it right now. And then you also get emails about 10X or any events that you say you're listening to this a lot later. I have events every once in a while. Sometimes I'll do one day. Sometimes this one's a big one, 5 days. So you just follow me on Instagram for sure, because you'll find out, when events are happening. But moneybreathwork.com is the easiest place to like get started.
Thank you so much. This was amazing.
Yes, of course. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. We'll talk soon.
Yes, for sure.
Have a good day.
Thanks.